Ever since the release of Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, I've been wondering about the origins of these paradox Pokémon they introduced in these games. Pokémon is said to be from the ancient past and the far, far future brought to our time. So today, I'll be tackling what these Pokémon from different time periods may look like in our current time. But before we get to the first of these speculative designs, I do want to mention that I'm finally able to do time lapses. So I've been updating sketches I've done prior to being able to do so I can use them in the future for coming video plans. Okay, let's get to it. First up, let's start with a past paradox Pokemon, and which better to start with than the pink floating menace that is Screamtail. A fascinating pink blob of Pokemon that is surprisingly capable of taking hits. I started out thinking that to make a past paradox Pokemon such as Screamtail look more like a modern Pokemon, keeping a similar body plan but less detailed would do quite well to give that impression. Pose-wise, I felt like it would be smart to keep things simple for myself and try to keep the same pose Screamtail had for this new version of this paradox Pokemon. So, here's the modern Screamtail. Melodic Puff. Melodic Puff, the paradox Pokemon. Melodic Puff is a fairy and normal type, keeping one of Screamtail's two typings. It resembles an ancient Pokemon known as Screamtail. It inflates its body in order to get ready to sing a lullaby. Its mastery of its vocal ranges allow for it to vary the wavelength of its voice to a point where it can sing and make any listener sleepy. Its songs appear to draw in people with insomnia. Its melodic harmonies seem to be able to cure those with bad cases of insomnia, granting them sweet, sweet dreams. Okay, one past paradox modernized. Now to deconstruct a future paradox. And let's start with what I think is the most used of all the future paradox Pokemon. Iron Hands. Yeah, I'm talking about in-game here, and boy howdy do I see this guy a lot during raids. Its Pokédex entry in Pokémon Scarlet also states that it is very similar to a cyborg covered exclusively by a paranormal magazine. The cyborg was said to be a modified form of a certain athlete. Which did get me thinking, if it is a modified form of a certain athlete, then what kind of sport would it have done? What kind of athlete would it be? What sport would generally benefit from that body type? A freaking sumo wrestler. Honestly, I didn't even think I would have to change too much about Iron Hands for it to make sense as an organic creature. Changing the fence to ears, changing the LED screens for eyes to actual eyes, and making it look organic instead of metallic by adjusting those things about it. Considering it is mentioned to be a cyborg, removing the tech elements from it would likely result in making it look like it would have had before it became a cyborg. Oh, and I tried to stay as close as I could to the pose of Iron Hands, so it would look pretty much the same as it would otherwise. So hey, meet the modern paradox of Iron Hands. Slapping Hands. Slapping Hands, the paradox Pokemon. Slapping Hands is a pure fighting type, since now the cyborg/augmented parts have been removed. There's somewhat no more reason for it to retain the electric typing. It appears to be an athlete that Iron Hands is based on. Current theory is that the first Iron Hands may have been an augmented Slapping Hands. It seems to love challenging others to tests of strength. It appears to have the power to stop a train with a single slap. Okay, let's keep swapping back and forth between the past and the future. So, how about we take a shot at the biggest menace to the competitive scene amongst all these Paradox Pokémon from Pokémon Scarlet? Fluttermane. From its Pokémon Violet text entry, it has similar features to a ghostly pterosaur that was discovered in a paranormal magazine, but the two have little else in common. So it's a pterodactyl. What a weird freaking creature. I mean, fantastic weird creature. Please game bring me on. Considering how Fluttermane kind of has this scaly thing going on, I figured it would probably work if it were changed to be like flowy hair, kind of playing up the main part of its name and giving it more luscious locks that would float in the wind. And that idea kinda got me on the thought of banshees, types of ghosts that do attack you with screeches that are loud enough to deafen someone. So here we have Shrieking Mane. Shrieking Mane, the Paradox Pokémon. It bears a striking resemblance to the ancient Pokémon known as Fluttermane. It playfully scares trainers who pass by its nest. Its shrieks are harmless, but the cries of fear it can induce feed it for days. It loves to bite and yank people's hair from behind without warning, just to see their shocked expressions. For my next subject, I chose to make Iron Thorns back into a current day organic Pokémon. So for starters, I imagined it would, like the others, work best if I kept the same pose going for it. From their descriptions of Iron Thorns mentioning that it has been said to have a cool head and prefers to avoid unnecessary fights, did strike me as very interesting characterizations for it, which could then be flipped on its head. What if it used to be a dark and angry Pokémon, making the spikes on its back actually big spikes? I imagined it more kaiju-like, even though it already has that look to it, but like more rocky, scaly parts to it, more dense, and layers of scales and everything. I think I managed pretty well, all things considered, even though the post and Iron Thorns gave me a bit to work with. You know, it kind of looking a bit goofy like this. So now meet Iron Thorn's ancestor, Savage Spikes. Savage Spikes, the Paradox Pokémon. Its rocky exterior seems to be impenetrable. It appears to be a lot more hot-headed than Iron Thorns is, savagely trashing any that approach its territory. This Pokémon appears to be how Iron Thorns looked like a billion years ago. According to scientists, this Pokémon has enough power to move mountains. So Brood Bonnet has always struck me as a rather weird creature when it comes to these Paradox Pokémon. It's supposed to be a super ancient dinosaur-like creature, and yet it has Pokeball patterns. Heck, it even looks like it's intended to be a mushroom with Pokeball patterns. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it's very suspicious. But that did get me thinking to start stripping away the more dinosaur-like aspects of it to get to that more solid mushroom type of look down for it. So I kept the same pose, removed the hanging leaves too, made the beak into a more snout-like thing, and then kept going on. And it started to transform into a more mushroomy creature than it already was. Heck, I even kept the Pokeball pattern for it, which it had for some reason. So I ended up turning Brute Bonnet into a suspicious stool. Suspicious Stool, the Paradox Pokemon. A Pokemon said to be a Paradox relative of the ancient Pokemon known as Brute Bonnet. It lures its prey close by swaying its arm-like caps around. The Pokeball-like patterns on its caps appear to lure in trainers quite easily. If agitated, this Pokemon releases poisonous spores at its foe. If not treated quickly, these spores grow into its young. Okay, for the final one of this video I chose to dissect the most enigmatic of the Paradox Pokemon. Iron Valiant. This strange humanoid Pokemon that's got these cool energy blades attached to its arms which it also can detach. Like, how cool is that? To make it a more current day Pokemon, I assessed the problem just like the previous future biomechanical monsters. I made it into organics. I kept most of the features just like they were, though I removed the pigtails because those did not make any sense to me. I made the energy blades into organic blades because I wanted to keep the whole knightly aesthetic, and I fused them to the hands. I kept the dress part mostly the same, though not as futuristic or robot-y, and attached them to the actual body instead of having them float around. I wanted it to still feel like a Pokemon without having to do major many changes which would just overcomplicate the whole thing. And voila! With that I did change Iron Valiant into a Courageous Knight. Courageous Knight, the Paradox Pokemon. A valiant Pokemon that will stop at nothing to protect its trusted trainer. It appears to be a distant relative of the future Pokemon known as Iron Valiant. When trying to protect someone, it extends its elbows as if they were swords and fights savagely. And with that, another video has come to an end. I hope you like this new style to the video, and I'm very excited now that I do have the ability to do time lapses to bring you more videos. I do not have an ETA for when those will happen, but I am working very diligently on new designs for future videos, future projects to bring to you here on YouTube. I'll be honest, it feels kind of weird to be doing this again, but it also feels kind of nice, and it's been fun to get back into the swing of things. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit on the end of this video, but hey, it's meant to be an April Fool's video, so I can find a little bit more leniency here for myself to just ramble off script a bit. I do really plan to do more new things. I've genuinely been cooking up some cool things. I'm very much so excited to share with everyone. But the whole now being able to do time lapses thing, it kind of just made it so I did decide to icebox the Yunyo Pokédex for now. Mostly because it's a massive Pokédex and I'm not looking to redraw like almost every single one of those Pokemon designs I've done over like the last year. So, with that said, YouTube will see a new Fakemon project from me pretty soon, I hope, which will include time lapses. Again, sorry, I'm repeating myself a bit, but again, I'm kind of going off script. Oh, and just for those who need this to be acknowledged, this is an April Fool's video. I know these are actual Pokemon I've drawn, with the exception of Courageous Knight. Again, thank you for watching the video. Thank you if you made it this far into the video. And I know I've been away for a while, and
I cannot yet commit myself to doing weekly videos just yet, but just know I'm working on coming back and making a little stockpile for myself so I can get some time for myself in between too. So that's it for now, for real. But again, considering this is an April Fool's video, who am I to not give you a little bit of fun to pad out this video. Bye bye! Hey, if you made it this far into the video, how about you click on one of these YouTube things, you might like these.